Hello students, welcome to Satva Academy. This is another video from the Contract Act series where we will be discussing about the privity of contract. Okay students, let's see what is doctrine of privity of contract. See, according to the doctrine of privity of contract, here third party to the contract cannot sue. It means a stranger to the contract don't have any right to sue against the other party. See, as we discussed in earlier part, in a contract there will be two parties, that is offerer and offeree. So here, if you are not a offerer or else if you are not a offeree and if you don't have any obligations in the contract, then in that case you don't have any right to file a case against parties to the contract. So that one is actually the concept in case of privity of contract. But still there are some exceptions which leads to the giving right to a third party, so that even though there is no obligation in a contract, still a stranger can file a case against the contract to the parties in some cases. Let's see the exceptions of the doctrine of privity of contract. See, under the first category, in case of a trust or else trust law. In case of a trust, there will be some beneficiaries in a public where they have a right to file a case against trustees in case of any violation of their rights. So that is the first exception in case of the exception to the privity of contract. See, in case of a trust, there will be a settler. There will be a settler who donates the property to the trust, and that trust is managed by the trustee. So here the control of the trust will always with the trustees. Then the trustees should have certain duties or else obligation to perform towards the public or else beneficiaries. See, if in any case, if trustee violates any rules, then there is a right to the public who can file a case against the trustee to claim the benefits, even though their name is not entered into the trust deed of the trust. So that is the first exception to the doctrine of privity of contract. So let's see the next one. So the next one is in case of a family settlements. So in case of a family settlements, there will be a beneficiary, that is the family members. Even though their name is not entered in the settlement deed, still they have a right to claim their rights against the persons of the family or as members of the family. Okay, let's see the example here. So assume here A and B agreed to pay 20,000 rupees to their mother for the partition of the family's property. So now ಇಲ್ಲಿ A ಮತ್ತೆ B ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಫ್ಯಾಮಿಲಿ ಪ್ರಾಪರ್ಟಿನೇನು ಶೇರ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಪ್ರಾಪರ್ಟಿನ ಅವರ ನೇಮಿಗೆ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಫರ್ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡು ಅವರ ಮದರಿಗೆ ಒಂದು ಮಂತ್ಲಿ ಮೇಂಟೆನೆನ್ಸ್ ಅಂತೇಳಿ ಒಂದಷ್ಟು ಹಣ, ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ 20,000 rupees ಅದನ್ನು ಪೇ ಮಾಡ್ತೇವೆ ಅಂತೇಳಿ ಎಗ್ರಿ ಆಗಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ. ಸೊ ನಾವು there is no name in the contract of a mother, but the thing is still there is a right to a mother to claim the maintenance against their children because of the ಫ್ಯಾಮಿಲೀಸ್ ಪ್ರಾಪರ್ಟಿ ಪಾರ್ಟಿಷನ್ ಡೀಡ್. ಸೊ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಫ್ಯಾಮಿಲಿ ಪಾರ್ಟಿಷನ್ ಡೀಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಮಕ್ಕಳು ಅವರ ಪ್ರಾಪರ್ಟಿನೆಲ್ಲ ಡಿವೈಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಬಟ್ ಡಿವೈಡ್ ಮಾಡೋ ಟೈಮಲ್ಲಿ ದೇ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಎಗ್ರೀಡ್ ಟು ಪೇ ದ ಮೇಂಟೆನೆನ್ಸ್ ಟು ದೇಯರ್ ಮದರ್. ಸೊ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಮದರಿಗೆ ಏನು ಮೇಂಟೆನೆನ್ಸ್ ಕೊಡ್ತೇವೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಇನ್ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ಕೇಸ್ ನಾವು ದ ಮದರ್ ಇಸ್ ಅ ಬೆನಿಫಿಷಿಯರಿ ಇನ್ ದಟ್ ಕಾಂಟ್ರಾಕ್ಟ್, ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಇನ್ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ಕೇಸ್ ಮದರ್ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಕ್ಲೇಮ್ ದ ಮೇಂಟೆನೆನ್ಸ್ ಅಗೇನ್ಸ್ಟ್ ದೇಯರ್ ಚಿಲ್ಡ್ರನ್ ಇನ್ ಕೇಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಇಫ್ ದೇ ಫೇಲ್ ಟು ಪೇ ದ ಮೇಂಟೆನೆನ್ಸ್. ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಎಕ್ಸೆಪ್ಷನ್ ಇನ್ ಕೇಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಫ್ಯಾಮಿಲಿ ಸೆಟಲ್ಮೆಂಟ್. ಓಕೆ, ಲೆಟ್ಸ್ ಸಿ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಒನ್. In case of certain marriage contracts, see, even in case of marriage contract also, in many a time parents will make a contract with the other party. So ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಪೇರೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಮ್ಯಾರೇಜ್ ಕಾಂಟ್ರಾಕ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಬಂದಾಗ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಪೇರೆಂಟ್ಸೇ ಮಾತಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಡಿಸೈಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ. ಬಟ್ ದ ಥಿಂಗ್ ಈಸ್ ಆಫ್ಟರ್ ದ ಮ್ಯಾರೇಜ್ ದೇರ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ರೈಟ್ಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಆಬ್ಲಿಗೇಷನ್ ಟು ದ ಕಪಲ್ಸ್. ಸೊ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಮದುವೆ ಆದ ಮೇಲೆ ಏನು ಹಸ್ಬೆಂಡ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ವೈಫ್ ಇರ್ತಾರೆ, ಸೊ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ದೇರ್ ಇಸ್ ಅ ಡ್ಯೂಟಿ ಟುವರ್ಡ್ಸ್ ಸ್ಪೌಸ್ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಫಾಲೋ. ಸೊ ಇಫ್ ಇನ್ ಕೇಸ್ of a marriage contract, if any party violates the conditions of the marriage agreement, or else spouse can file a case against other to claim the maintenance in a court of law. So that is another condition where even though you are not the party in a contract in case of a marriage agreement, still you have a right to file a case against other party to claim the compensation. Okay, let's see next one. In case of assignments of a contract, so where you assign your contract to someone else, for example in case of a insurance contract. So usually insurance contract ಬಂದಾಗ ಏನಾಗ್ತದೆ, ಸೊ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಪೇರೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಒಂದು ಇನ್ಶೂರೆನ್ಸ್ ಪೇ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, and they may, for example they made a insurance with the LIC company. Now your parents will choose your name as a nominee. Here you are the beneficiary in that insurance contract, but still if even though it is a contract between insurance company and your parents, still you have a right to file a case against insurance company if they ignore to pay you the compensation in case of any uncertainties. So that is another exception in case of the exception to the privity of contract. Okay, let's see next one. So here next one is acknowledgement or else estoppel. So what estoppel actually is? So in case of estoppel, a person will agree to do some duties or else he is accepting the obligations towards other party. ಸೊ ಇನ್ನು ಯಾವುದೇ ಕೇಸಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವೇನಾದರೂ ಯಾರ್ದಾದ್ರೂ ಒಂದು ಆಬ್ಲಿಗೇಷನ್ ರಿಸೀವ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀರಾ, ಸೊ ಆಗ ಆಬ್ಲಿಗೇಷನ್ ರಿಸೀವ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಅಂತೇಳಿ ಒಮ್ಮೆ ನೀವು ಕನ್ಸೆಂಟ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟು ಒಂದು ಅಕ್ನಾಲೇಜ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀರಾ ಅಂತಾದರೆ, ಸೊ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮಗೊಂದು ಡ್ಯೂಟಿ ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟ್ ಆಗ್ತದೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ. ಆಫ್ಟರ್ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ಯು ಕಾಂಟ್ ಇಗ್ನೋರ್ ದಟ್ ಡ್ಯೂಟಿ. ಸೊ ಆಗ ಏನಾಗ್ತಲ್ಲಿ ಥರ್ಡ್ ಪಾರ್ಟಿ ಬಂದು ಆ ಡ್ಯೂಟಿಯನ್ನು ಪರ್ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಮಾಡಲೇಬೇಕಂತೇಳಿ ಆ ಥರ್ಡ್ ಪಾರ್ಟಿ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಎಗೇನ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದು ಕಾಂಪನ್ಸೇಷನ್ ಕ್ಲೈಮ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು. ಸೊ ಇನ್ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ಕೇಸ್ ದಟ್ ಥರ್ಡ್ ಪಾರ್ಟಿ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಅ ರೈಟ್ ಟು ಫೈಲ್ ಎ ಕೇಸ್ ಅಗೇನ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಯು ಈವನ್ ದೋ ಹಿ ಈಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಅ ಪಾರ್ಟಿ ಟು ಯುವರ್ ಕಾಂಟ್ರಾಕ್ಟ್. ಸಿ ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್, there is a example here in screen. See here, now creditor give a loan to Mr. M, a debtor. So here the amount of loan is 1 lakh rupees. Now M takes loan from the creditor and here creditor puts a condition that you have to pay that 1 lakh rupees to N, that is a beneficiary in that contract. Now here while receiving the loan, debtor agrees for that condition and he acknowledges that he is ready to pay the 1 lakh rupees to N. Okay, now after taking the loan, now here debtor is refusing to pay 1 lakh rupees to N, they is the third party in that contract. Now here N has a right to file a case against debtor to claim his money, that is 1 lakh rupees, because here debtor has duty to pay 1 lakh rupees to that third party because of his acknowledgement. So that is another exception in case of privity of contract rule. Okay, let's see next one. In case of covenant running with the land, see when you are buying some lands, so there will be a conditions to the ಬೈಯರ್ಸ್. ಸೊ ಒಂದು ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಬೈ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರ ಅಂತಂದ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮಗೆ ಕೆಲವೊಮ್ಮೆ ಆ ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಸೇಲ್ ಮಾಡೋಂಥ ಸೆಲ್ಲರ್ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಒಂದಷ್ಟು ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ಸನ್ನು ಹಾಕಿ ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ ನಿಮಗೆ. ಸೊ ಈ ಲ್ಯಾಂಡನ್ನು ಬೈ ಮಾಡುವಾಗ ನೀವೇನಾದರೂ ಆ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ ಎಗ್ರಿಯಾಗಿ ಬೈ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರ ಅಂತಂದರೆ ದೆನ್ ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಅ ಡ್ಯೂಟಿ ಟು ಫಾಲೋ ದೋಸ್ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ಸ್. ಸಿ ದ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ಹಿಯರ್ ದೇರ್ ಇಸ್ ಎ ಅಗ್ರಿಕಲ್ಚರ್ ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ನೌ ಸೆಲ್ಲರ್ ವಾಂಟ್ಸ್ ಟು ಸೆಲ್ ದಟ್ agriculture land to buyer. So while selling the agriculture land, he puts a condition that he shouldn't use that land for the industrial use. Now here party will agree that he is ready to follow that rule and he will not use that particular land for the industrial purpose. Okay, now buyer has agreed and also he got the ಟೈಟಲ್ ಆಫ್ ದಟ್ ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್. ಸೊ ನೀವೇನಿಲ್ಲಿ ಎಗ್ರಿ ಆಗ್ತೀರ ಅವರು ಹಾಕಿರೋ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ಗೆ. ಎಗ್ರಿ ಆದ ಮೇಲೆ ಸೆಲ್ಲರ್ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಆ ಲ್ಯಾಂಡನ್ನು ಸೇಲ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾನಲ್ಲಿ, ದೆನ್ ಯು ವಿಲ್ ಬಿಕಮ್ ದ ಓನರ್ ಆಫ್ ದಟ್ ಪರ್ಟಿಕ್ಯುಲರ್ ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್. ನೌ ಅಸ್ಯೂಮ್ ಇನ್ ಕೇಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಎನಿ ಕಮಿಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಯು ವಾಂಟ್ ಟು ಸೆಲ್ ದಟ್ ಪರ್ಟಿಕ್ಯುಲರ್ ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಟು ಸಮ್ ಒನ್ ಎಲ್ಸ್, ಯು ಶುಡ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಇಂಪೋಸ್ ದ ಸೇಮ್ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್. ಅಸ್ಯೂಮ್ ಯು ಫಾರ್ಗಾಟ್ ಟು ಮೆನ್ಷನ್ ದಟ್ ಸ್ಪೆಸಿಫಿಕ್ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ ಟು ಯುವರ್ ಬೈಯರ್. ಸೊ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಬೈಯರ್ ಯಾರಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅವರಿಗೆ ನೀವೊಂದು ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ ಹಾಕೋದು ಮರ್ತೋಗ್ತೀರಾ. ನಿಮಗೆ ಏನು ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ ಹಾಕಿದ್ರೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಫಸ್ಟಿಗೆ ಸೆಲ್ಲರ್ ಸೇಲ್ ಮಾಡುವಾಗ ಅಗ್ರಿಕಲ್ಚರ್ ಪರ್ಪಸ್ಗೆ ಮಾತ್ರ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಯು ಶುಡಂಟ್ ಯೂಸ್ ದಟ್ ಫಾರ್ ಇಂಡಸ್ಟ್ರಿಯಲ್ ಪರ್ಪಸ್. ನೌ there is a duty to the second buyer to follow the same condition even though he is not a party to your sale agreement. So that one is a condition. So in that case, assume here you sell that land to other party, for example Mrs. Singh. So here you sell that land to Mrs. Singh and there is an agreement between you and your buyer. But the condition is here the first seller have a right to file a case against Mr. Singh because of the exception to the rule of contract or privity of contract. Okay, we'll go to the next concept. The next exception is contract entered into through an agent. So now the agency is the contract where it creates the exception to the privity of contract. Let's see how the agency creates exception to the privity of contract. See for example here Prashant is a principal who wants to sell his land, so that he appoints Abhinav as an agent to sell his land. ಸೊ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರಿನ್ಸಿಪಲ್ ಯಾರಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಪ್ರಶಾಂತ್ ಅನ್ನುವಂಥ ಕ್ಯಾರೆಕ್ಟರ್. ಸೊ ಅವನೊಂದು ಏಜೆಂಟನ್ನು ಅಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾನಲ್ಲಿ, ಅವನ ಲ್ಯಾಂಡನ್ನು ಥರ್ಡ್ ಪಾರ್ಟಿಗೆ ಸೇಲ್ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಅಂತೇಳಿ. ನಾವು ಅಭಿನವ್ ಸೆಲ್ಸ್ ಹಿಸ್ ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಟು ತರುಣ್. ಸೊ ತರುಣ್ ಅಂತೇಳಿ ಒಬ್ಬ ಬೈಯರ್ ಬರ್ತಾನೆ, ಅವನಿಗೆ ಆ ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್ನ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಒಂದಷ್ಟು ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಷನ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟು ನಾವು ತರುಣ್ ಲೈಕ್ಸ್ ದಟ್ ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಹಿ ಈಸ್ ರೆಡಿ ಟು ಪೇ ದ ಮನಿ ಫಾರ್ ದಟ್ ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಹಿ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಬಾಟ್ ದ ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಫಾರ್ assume 20 lakh rupees. Now Tarun buys that particular land for 20 lakh rupees. Now here being a principal, Prashant can claim that 20 lakh rupees even though he is not a party to the contract of Abhinav and Tarun, because Prashant is a principal for Abhinav, so that here all the liabilities and advantages will also go to Prashant being a principal of that contract. So here if Abhinav refuses to pay the money to Prashant, which is made through the transaction of the sale of land, so here this creates the exception to the privity of contract towards principal. So here principal can file a case against the Tarun to claim the consideration even though he is not a party in a contract of Tarun and Abhinav. So this is all about the exception to the privity of contract. If you like the video, please do share this with your friends also. And if you are preparing any professional courses or else doing LLB, please follow our channel where we will be discussing some legal topics here. Don't forget to subscribe our channel. Thank you, students.